Hello everybody and welcome back to the Java tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at methods and how to declare them, how to call them, and what they're actually useful for. So we have experience with the method so far. This main method here, public static void main, you should probably tattoo that on your arm right now because you will need to know that for your entire life if you're doing Java. If you're not, get out of here. Just don't even continue. Apart from that, by the way, I don't believe in that. Just if you want to learn, it's fucking sick. Just keep going. It's pretty sick. I won't lie. So anyway, what methods are they're just essentially blocks of code that you can kind of section off. You can call them multiple times and it'll do the exact same thing. Of course, based on some sort of input that you might give. So let's actually look at how to define a method first. So we're going to stick with public static for now. So public and static. You don't need to worry about that. We are going to be looking into if you want to change this in the future, and then we'll get into more complex. That's with classes and object-oriented programming. But the next thing is the void. So in our main method, we have void. Now, what does this mean? It's a return type. So void means it doesn't return anything. So if I say void, I will tell the compiler this method will not return anything. Now I give it a name, so I'll just say method 1, and we'll leave parameters out of it for now. So system.out.println method 1, just like that. Now if I wanted to go, I should probably clean this fucking file up. Now at the bottom, if I wanted to call it, I could simply just say method 1. Since we are in the same class, we can just say method 1. This method here is now a member of the class main. I'll actually put this at the bottom here. So if you want to access this method, you can, from outside the class, you will have to say main.method1. So if I run this, at the bottom it should say method 1. Now, what if I wanted to return a value? So if I wanted to return an integer, so I'll say, let's talk about parameters first. So if I want to name this, let's say print something, and I want to pass in some sort of string for this to print. So the way you pass in parameters is in the parentheses here. So we'll say string item. So print something and it'll just print out the item. If you wanted to add more parameters, you can say string item 2. And you can pass in two parameters. So now if I want to call this, I'll say print something, and I'll pass in hello, and then world, just like that. And it'll print out hello world on 2 different lines. Because I told it to print out the first item on the first line, and the second parameter on the second item. Now let's say we wanted to just create a simple function to add 2 numbers. So I'll say add 5 and 7. If you don't know how to do that, I don't know. So what do we want this to do? We want to get some number back. So let's say I wanted to print out system.out.println 5 plus 7 is equal to, and then plus the result. Now, if I want this to get something back, I'm going to have to change the return type. So instead of void, it should be int. So public static int, and then add will be the new name, and then I'll say int i1, int i2, and then to return something, you just say return i1 plus i2, and that's it. So I can run this, and you get 5 plus 7 is equal to 12. So yeah, that's pretty much methods. Now I want to tell you guys something cool. Let's say this was a void, so void, and I'll just say print, and I'll just say, I should probably not be, yeah, alright, so let me just keep that there. Okay. Now let's say I wanted to get back the print method, so I'll say public static void print, and I want to say int I1 and int I2. So there's some condition, and we'll say if I1 is greater than 10, we don't want to print a second integer. So we'll print out first one. So system.out.println I1. If I2 is greater than 10, we don't want to print out I2. Now you could just say if I2 is less than or equal to 10, print out I2, but there's another way you could do it. Since this method returns void, you can just simply say return, and that's it. It doesn't return anything, so you don't have to say return some value. You don't have to say return null. You just say return, and it returns, and it stops the method. It returns back to the caller. And if we don't, then we just say system.out.println I2. So let's experiment. So we'll say print I1 is 4 or 5, and then I2 is 6. So we should get a 5 and a 6. Now let's make I15. It prints out, oh, if I2 is greater than 10. Yeah, so if I1 is greater than 10. I thought I screwed up there. Yeah, so it only prints out the 15. So since I1 is equal to 15, which is greater than 10, it stops the method. It returns back to the caller. All right, so that's methods. And in the next class, we're going to have a little introduction into classes and some syntax, and then we'll go from there. So I will see you then.